Hi, this is a continuation of 6.03 International Organizations 1, and we are starting with slide 16. Uncertainty and capital flight. The increased international mobility of capital, especially from private investors, brings many benefits. These benefits go to investors in the form of profits and to recipients in the form of development. Not surprisingly, there are also risks for both investors and recipients. Investors operating in developing countries have to worry about the many factors that can result in a loss of profit. These range from political upheavals to sudden changes in labor laws that lead to increased production costs. Foreign investment is also a potential problem for developing economies because of the vulnerability it brings. If private investors suddenly lose confidence in a country's stability or growth prospects, they can move their capital out of the country very quickly. This can destabilize the country's economy by creating high unemployment and undercutting exports. Investment uncertainty is what keeps investors from putting much money into developing countries in the first place. For example, private investment in Eastern European countries has been hampered by uncertainties about property rights, contract rights, taxes, price controls, export and import regulations, and other unstable aspects of the business environment. The importance of creating a favorable investment climate is critical not only for attracting foreign investors, but also for preventing capital flight. Stability and instability in international finance. Growth in the global economy is facilitated by stable and secure international banking, as well as by capital mobility, which provides foreign aid and foreign investment to developing countries. Conditions that promote safe, secure, reliable international banking include uniform regulations across banks, tight supervision of banks, transparency of banking activities, and bank accountability. Conditions that are disruptive to international banking include inconsistent regulatory and supervisory policies, light supervision, few restrictions, and tolerance of illegal practices. Conditions that promote capital mobility and the flow of money and investments to developing economies include stable governments, good economic growth prospects, easy currency convertibility, and loose government regulations on business. Conditions that discourage capital mobility include extreme poverty, tyrannical or unstable governments, low growth prospects, weak protection for business rights, and unstable currency exchange rates. In the United States, the national economy is regulated by the government through institutions like the Federal Reserve, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the National Labor Relations Board. The world economy, on the other hand, is not regulated by a single government, but there are institutions that regulate the world economy, many of which developed in the mid-20th century. Regional free trade zones, such as the tight economic alliance of the European Union, represent a step in the direction towards a larger world economy under common regulations. European countries gave up significant autonomy over monetary and financial affairs when they became members of the EU. In addition, there are a number of international financial organizations that help promote order and stability in the global economy. None of the groups has supreme authority to rule the global economy, but they all play a part in helping to keep the global economy and international trade running smoothly. The International Monetary Fund. One important institution that helps regulate the global economy is the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The IMF was originally set up to prevent a repeat of the protectionist economic policies that contributed to the Great Depression of the 1930s. To that end, the IMF encourages the removal of foreign exchange restrictions, promotes exchange rate stability, and facilitates payments between member countries. It also dispenses temporary financial assistance in the form of short-term loans to help countries that face potentially destabilizing financial problems. The IMF is funded through quotas paid by each member country. These quotas are based on the size of each country's economy. The larger the economy, the larger the IMF quota. Like other financial institutions, the IMF also receives money from interest and fees charged on its loans. The IMF has three main areas of responsibility: information gathering, technical assistance, and short-term loans. Advice and assistance. An important function of the IMF is gathering information. Teams of IMF economists visit each member country to collect economic data and hold discussions with government leaders and officers of the nation's central banks. Based on the team reports, the IMF makes an assessment of each country's economic situation. It also gives policy recommendations designed to achieve a stable and growing economy. The IMF provides countries with technical assistance aimed at creating economic stability. IMF educators offer training in the areas of fiscal policy, methods of monetary exchange, and banking and financial sector reform. The aim is to help countries improve the effectiveness of their economic policies and financial management, and to reduce vulnerability to crises. In helping countries reduce weakness and vulnerability, technical assistance also contributes to a more stable and healthy global economy. Financial aid. One of the IMF's most important functions is providing loans to help countries handle short-term financial problems. This assistance enables these countries to rebuild foreign exchange reserves, stabilize currencies, purchase necessary imports, and restore conditions for strong economic growth. IMF loans can also provide emergency assistance following natural disasters or human-caused crises. The IMF offers structural adjustment loans, which provide a form of open-ended financing for structural reforms. These loans are made under the terms of conditionality. Under conditionality, borrower countries must agree to adopt IMF policy recommendations. These usually involve economic reforms such as privatization of government enterprises and measures that cut government spending. The IMF's influence in the global economy has grown with its membership, but its powers and resources remain limited. It mainly helps with problems that have already developed. IMF solutions usually involve integrating countries into the global economy rather than focusing on fixing problems in the domestic economy. This raises criticisms that the overall effect of IMF intervention is to help advanced economies more than developing economies. Overall, the IMF success record is limited. It was created to help stabilize the global economy, but it has been unable to prevent serious banking collapses that sharply reduced the GDP of member nations. The World Bank. Another international organization that plays a role in shaping the global economy is the World Bank. Established in 1944 at the same time as the IMF, the World Bank is a non-profit international organization and lending institution that aims to reduce poverty. Its motto is "Working for a World Free of Poverty." Owned by the governments of its 188 member countries and directed by a board of 25 executive directors plus a president, the bank lends about $35 billion a year to development projects. It also provides technical assistance and policy advice and acts as a catalyst for investment and lending from other sources. The World Bank's poorest members receive loans for up to 50 years without interest. Other developing nations can receive loans for 15 to 20 years at lower interest rates than those charged by commercial banks. The money comes from member countries and the organization's reserves, bond sales, and other loans the organization can get at low interest. Functions of the World Bank. The World Bank is not a bank in the conventional sense. Banks make loans in order to make a profit, while the World Bank makes loans in order to foster economic development. In general, World Bank financing helps developing countries create a good climate for investment and sustainable development so that their economies can develop and their standards of living can rise. World Bank loans help developing countries build schools, improve healthcare, provide immunization, build irrigation systems, reduce pollution, build roads, and develop infrastructure. The World Bank plays an essential role in the global economy by helping the poorest countries develop economically so they can participate in international trade and enjoy the benefits of global specialization. I am going to end this recording on slide 24. It will next pick up on slide 28. Please let me know if you have any questions.